In this video, I'm going to go through just a few tips on using the Central Machinery Harbor Freight powder coating system, and I'm going to be painting this valve cover black. And I've just been using the Harbor Freight powder coater, and I've been learning a few things along the way. First, I've found that you can just use regular masking tape. You don't need special high temperature masking tape, it's more expensive. Really, you just need to keep the powder out of the area. So just masking it off with this masking tape works fine, and what I've found is it even holds up pretty well past 350 degrees, which is how hot you need to get it. So I would recommend using normal masking tape and not using the expensive like Kapton high temperature tape. And this masking tape here, it's not even that great. It's probably from Walmart or the dollar store, but it does a really good job at masking off the areas. A blade does a great job at cutting it off around the shape. This is really simple, it's just a circle. And then say for more complex shapes like this, where each of the numbers, I'm not gonna mask each one of those off, and I'm not gonna mask this area off. What I'm gonna do is just powder coat that, and then once everything's cured, you just take a sander or a piece of sandpaper and sand all that off, and it makes it a lot faster than having to go through and mask all that. Before we spray this, we want to just prepare the surface with some rubbing alcohol so everything is clean and everything will stick to it. The cleaner it is, the better result you're gonna get, so it's just important to clean out everything. And the little crevices around here, they're real tricky to get to, but it's important to get them if you want the powder coat to stick properly. If you're gonna be hanging this part, instead of just hanging it from one end, you want to hang it from 2 points so it doesn't spin, because once it starts spinning, it gets really hard to powder coat. We're only going to be powder coating one side of this, so I'm just putting it down on a box. I don't need to mask underneath it. It just makes it simpler. I can just spray from right here. Whenever you're spraying this fine dust, you want to wear a mask, but I'm sure everybody already has one of these. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into shop air. And I like to have it at about 4 psi, but it's just trial and error. If you feel like it's not enough, move it up a little bit. If it's too little, and if it's too much, move it down. Just play with it. I found 4, 5, 3 psi around that range where it's real low seems to work well. Now I'll clip on my ground, and I already know that this is going to be a challenging part because of all these tight angles. Whenever you're powder coating, it's tricky. Whenever the angles are real tight, it seems like it almost repels the powder. So it'll be a little bit of work. Now we'll turn on the machine and we can start powder coating. You step on this pedal to energize the part, and then you squeeze the trigger and the powder will come out. The powder itself is almost like electrified, so then whenever it's grounded, it gets attracted to that. You usually want to start off the part because that seems like that's at most whenever it seems to blob out. So I like to start it up here, and if you tap this while you're powder coating, especially on the Harbor Freight one, it seems to work a lot better. I found that a higher angle keeps it from spitting quite as much. It's still a problem though. So we're just building up that dust cloud and letting it settle onto the metal. I found that this tapping is very important just to keep that coating consistent. These little corners are definitely the toughest areas to get, so just get them from different angles and slowly the powder will cover them. Got a little bit too heavy here, it spit out, and I'm gonna have to blow off this area here real lightly. I don't wanna change this area over here because it's good. It's important to get this consistent or else it'll look splotchy. Getting a chair is actually a big deal. It helps a lot. It'll keep you stabler and it's a lot more comfortable. The outside is looking really nice. Now the inside's going to be a bit more tricky because this angle of the gun is really working well. Once you get a lower angle, it tends to spit more. So it'll be tricky because I have to kind of bend the gun down to get in there. So we'll figure it out as we do it. This can definitely be pretty tricky, but just keep that cloud forming and the dust will settle down and collect. The inside here is definitely a challenge to get into, but it's slowly getting there, but it's slow. It laid it on a bit too heavy here, and that's the nice thing with powder coating is if anything goes on too heavy, it's as easy as just blowing it off. Before you start spraying your part, I've always liked to start on the edge just in case it splatters whenever it first starts, which is fairly common. It'll shoot over here, not on your part. Now we're ready to take off the ground. Now I'm ready to go ahead and carry this into the oven. Whenever you carry this, you gotta carry it really carefully. Don't let it drag up against your shirt. Make sure it doesn't touch anything except the points where you're okay to touch it. I didn't powder coat over on this side, so I can grab it here, and I can grab it here on the bottom of this. And into the oven we go. And carrying it up, I got a little scratch right there. That's at the back of the engine. It won't be quite as noticeable, but it is there. We'll preheat the oven to 350 and set a timer for 10 minutes. And if we look at it now, it's just about fully flowed out. You can see it's starting to get shiny. Not all of it's shiny though yet. Just a little bit more and it'll be done. And this looks really good. It's not perfect, obviously, but I'll take it. There's a little bit of a few spots here where I couldn't get to it, you know, where it would have started spitting. And that's not exact, and I'm not sure what to do about that problem, but for the most part, this looks really good. The finish is very even, and that'll really make everything look better. Now we can pull off our masking tape, and you can see it did its job very well. And, you know, I'm actually not sure if I even need to sand this here. I think this will be fine. It's not actually needing to make a really nice seal where the coil packs go, so I think that's fine. This looks really good. Let's just set some of these in place so we can get an idea of what this will look like. This one's really bright here. This is the intake manifold. And our coolant supply line right there. So everything roughly in place. This looks really nice. The different colors make it look great.